For 60 years, an unwritten rule kept every black player out of Major League Baseball, and in 1947, one man broke it in a single afternoon. His name was Jackie Robinson. April 15, 1947. Ebbets Field, Brooklyn. He walked to first base wearing number 42, and the color line that had stood since the 1880s cracked in front of 26,000 people. He went hitless that day. No home run. No headline swing. Just a man standing where no black man had been allowed to stand in the modern major leagues. And that was the revolution, not a hit, but a presence. To understand what he carried onto that field, you have to go back. Baseball had not always been white. In the 1880s, a handful of black players wore big league uniforms. Then the door slammed shut. There was no rule written anywhere, no clause, no statute, nothing you could point to. Just a gentleman's agreement among the owners that no black man would ever again play in the majors. For 6 decades it held. Perfectly. Silently. A lie enforced by everyone and admitted by no one. Black players built their own world, the Negro Leagues, full of talent the white leagues pretended not to see. Josh Gibson, who may have hit the ball harder than anyone alive. Cool Papa Bell, so fast the legends couldn't keep up. Satchel Paige, the greatest showman the game ever had. Men who would have been superstars, playing in the shadows for a fraction of the pay, riding all night between towns because the hotels wouldn't take them. Then came Branch Rickey, president of the Brooklyn Dodgers. A shrewd, cigar-chewing, Bible-quoting executive who had watched the color line for years, and quietly decided to end it. Some said it was conscience. Some said it was business, untapped talent, untapped fans, a pennant waiting to be bought cheap. It was probably both. Rickey didn't want the best player in the Negro Leagues. He wanted the right one. A man good enough to win, and strong enough to survive what was coming. He found him on the Kansas City Monarchs, a former Army lieutenant, a four-sport star from UCLA who had once been court-martialed for refusing to move to the back of a military bus. He was acquitted. He was unbroken. Robinson had been fighting his whole life. He grew up poor in Pasadena, California, raised by a single mother who scrubbed floors to feed 5 children. His older brother Mac had won a silver medal at the 1936 Berlin Olympics, finishing just behind Jesse Owens, then come home to a job sweeping streets. Jackie learned early what America did with black excellence. It applauded, and then it looked away. Rickey was betting that this time, the country wouldn't be able to. In 1945, Rickey called Robinson into a closed room and did something cruel on purpose. He screamed slurs at him for hours, playing every bigot, every heckler, every pitcher Robinson would ever face. Robinson, boiling, finally asked if Rickey wanted a man afraid to fight back. Rickey's answer became legend. "I want a player," he said, "with guts enough not to fight back." He asked Robinson for 3 years. 3 years of turning the other cheek, no matter what they threw, no matter what they screamed. Robinson looked at the door being cracked open in front of him, and he agreed. He had no idea what he was agreeing to. Because the moment he put on the uniform, the country he was trying to change came for him. It started before the majors, in 1946, with the Montreal Royals, the Dodgers' top farm team. Robinson tore the minor leagues apart, led his league in hitting, won a championship. Even there, in a friendlier city, opposing towns hurled bottles and threats. He proved he could play anywhere. The only question left was whether America would let him. In the spring of 1947, Rickey called him up. And it started before the season even did. Some of Robinson's own teammates circulated a petition. They refused to take the field alongside a black man. Dodgers leadership got wind of it. The manager, Leo DeRocher, reportedly gathered them in the middle of the night and told them, flatly, that he'd trade every last one of them before he'd trade Robinson. The petition died in the dark. Then came the games. Pitchers threw at his head, not brushbacks, but fastballs aimed to hurt. Runners came into the bag with their spikes up, high and sharp, aiming for his shins. Bench jockeys screamed things that cannot be printed here. In one infamous series, the Philadelphia Phillies and their manager unleashed abuse so relentless, so vicious, that it turned some of Robinson's own teammates protective for the first time. A Southern-born shortstop named Pee Wee Reese was later said to have walked across the infield in a hostile ballpark and put his arm around Robinson's shoulders, in full view of the crowd, a quiet gesture that became one of the most enduring images the game ever produced. The abuse followed him off the field. He got hate mail by the sackful. Death threats, against him, against his wife Rachel, against their infant son. Hotels turned him away while his teammates checked in. Restaurants refused to serve him. He suited up for road games knowing that letters had arrived promising he'd be shot if he took the field. Through all of it, one person never left his side, his wife, Rachel. She sat in the stands reading the same hate mail, hearing the same slurs, watching pitchers aim at the father of her child. Later she said the loneliness was the hardest part, that they carried it together because no one else could understand it. And through all of it, he could not fight back. That was the deal he had made. Every instinct that had made him a soldier and a fighter, he had to swallow, inning after inning, city after city. He absorbed it. Silently. Publicly. In front of the whole country. So he answered the only way that was left to him. He played. He hit .297 that first season. He led the entire National League in stolen bases. He danced off the bases and drove pitchers to distraction, turning singles into doubles and doubles into runs. He was named baseball's very first Rookie of the Year, an award that today carries his name. And the Dodgers, the team that nearly mutinied against him, won the pennant. That October, they pushed the mighty New York Yankees to 7 games before falling, Robinson standing in the most hostile spotlight any rookie had ever faced, and standing there still at the end. The man they had tried to break was, by season's end, one of the most electric players in all of baseball. But the toll was invisible and enormous. The restraint, the rage held down day after day, friends said it hollowed him out, ate at his health, aged him before his time. He was carrying a weight no box score could ever measure. And then, slowly, the walls he was straining against began to fall, not just for him, but for everyone who would come after. Within weeks of Robinson's debut, the Cleveland Indians signed Larry Doby, breaking the color line in the American League too. The dam had a crack, and the water came through. Roy Campanella, Don Newcomb, and behind them, the Flood, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Ernie Banks, Bob Gibson. Names that would define the next 30 years of the sport. There was a bitter cost inside the triumph. The Negro Leagues, robbed of their stars and their audience, faded and collapsed within a decade, the very institutions that had kept black baseball alive, undone by the integration they'd made possible. Progress and loss, tangled together. By 1959, every team in the majors had integrated. The last holdout, fittingly, painfully, was the Boston Red Sox, who gave way a full 12 years after Robinson first stepped onto Ebbets Field. And Robinson only got better. In 1949 he won the National League's Most Valuable Player award and the batting title, hitting .342. Over 10 seasons he made 6 All-Star teams, reached 6 World Series, and finally won it all in 1955. In 1962 he became the first black player elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. The numbers were undeniable, but they were never really the point. Because the real story is bigger than baseball. This was 1947, before Brown versus Board of Education. Before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. Before Martin Luther King had a national stage. Jackie Robinson integrated America's most popular game on its biggest stage, while much of the country was still legally segregated by law, and he did it in front of everyone, every single day, in the box scores and on the radio. He proved, in real time, that the color line had always been a lie. That the only thing separating black excellence from white ballparks had been the door itself, and the men holding it shut. Robinson became more than a player. He became a symbol, and then an activist, marching and writing and speaking for civil rights long after he'd hung up his cleats. He testified before Congress. He pushed presidents. He never stopped pushing. And it cost him. He died in 1972 at just 53 years old, his hair gone white, his eyesight nearly gone, his body worn down by diabetes and by the years of pressure he had carried since that first Brooklyn spring. In 1997, 50 years after his debut, Major League Baseball did something it had never done for any human being before. It retired his number, 42, across every single team, forever. No player on any club would ever wear it again. And every year on April 15th, on Jackie Robinson Day, every player on every team in the league pulls on that same number 42. For one day, all of them are him. He asked for 3 years of silence. He gave the game, and the country, far more than that. And baseball has never stopped owing him. So here is the question worth sitting with. How many people could have done what he did? Not the talent, not the base stealing, but the silence. Could you have stood there in the noise, taking everything they threw, forbidden to swing back, knowing that the whole experiment, and every player who would ever follow, depended on your refusing to break? He didn't just walk onto a field. He held a door open with his whole body, and refused to let it close. Follow for more.